I just wanted it. Like, I wanted that shape. That's the shape that I wanted. And I wanted to look like that. And I think the older you get tired of having to hop into your jeans. Or you get everything in me. And what women don't know what's going on right now, if you got those shots 4 or 5 years ago, you're gonna be sick. It's no avoiding it. It's nothing you can do to avoid it. And they not telling girls still getting it.
Okay. Michelle had always been known for her fearless attitude. She said what she felt, sang with her whole heart, and walked into any room with her head held high. But no one ever saw what was happening behind that strong exterior. When she finally told her story, it stopped people in their tracks. She didn't hold back. She revealed that she nearly lost her life after a cosmetic procedure went terribly wrong. Her words were raw, her voice cracked. "I thought I was going to die," she said. And the pain in her eyes told the rest. She showed the world photos of her body post-surgery. The scarring, the swelling, the trauma, and it was almost too much to look at. Not because of how it looked, but because of what it meant. Behind those scars was a story of pressure, silence, and survival. People couldn't believe she'd kept this hidden for so long. But now that she was talking, she wasn't just telling her truth, she was sounding the alarm for everyone who thought chasing perfection was worth dying for. From the outside, Michelle looked unstoppable. Her body was admired, her music celebrated, and her personality loved by millions. She stood out on every red carpet, in every video, with curves that seemed custom-made for the spotlight. But all that glam was covering a deep, painful secret. From early in her career, she felt she didn't measure up. Not because she wasn't talented, she was overflowing with talent, but because the industry didn't make space for women who didn't fit a certain mold. Executives whispered about her look. Stylists gave her advice. Photographers edited her photos before she ever saw them. The message was clear: the more perfect you looked, the more attention you'd get. So she began to change her body. First small things, then bigger ones. At the time, she believed it was for herself. But now she knows it was for an industry that didn't love her unless she looked a certain way. And that realization broke her heart. The real nightmare started after a series of backroom, black market procedures. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow, creeping damage. At first, everything seemed fine. She got compliments. She saw more engagement on social media. She felt more confident. But underneath, her body was in chaos. The materials used in the illegal injections began to harden. They started moving, shifting, spreading. Her hips were swollen. Her legs burned with pain. She could barely walk at times. The infections came without warning. One minute she was performing, smiling for cameras. The next, she was in an emergency room, screaming in pain. Doctors were stunned. They asked what had been used. She couldn't even say because she didn't really know. It wasn't a licensed procedure. It wasn't FDA approved. It wasn't safe. But by then, it was too late. Her body was rejecting everything. The doctors told her, if we don't act soon, this could be the end. After years of living in silence, Michelle reached her breaking point. Her body couldn't take it anymore, and neither could her spirit. One day, she sat in front of a camera, looked into the lens, and let the tears fall. She started talking about the pain, the surgeries, the shame. She showed the scars on her body, not for pity, but as a warning. She said, "This is what it looks like when you try to change yourself for the world." Fans were stunned. The woman they admired for her strength was now showing a completely different kind of strength. The kind it takes to be vulnerable. She admitted she had moments of depression. She stopped recognizing herself in the mirror. She said there were nights she cried so hard she couldn't breathe. But in that same breath, she also talked about surviving, about pushing through, about finally loving the woman underneath all the pain. And for the first time, she didn't feel ashamed. She felt free.
I found a doctor that could treat me who shouldn't treat me. And he somewhat made it worse.
Wow.
Because he allowed it, and you can't lipo this type of thing. And that's what doctors first wanted to do. Well, it's like motor oil. So once they turn into pellets. So once you bust those pellets, it's like free-floating silicone in your body that's moving through your body.
Her family had been terrified for years. They saw the changes, watched her body suffer, and begged her to stop. But Michelle felt trapped. Trapped by the beauty standard, trapped by the public eye, trapped by the fear that she'd lose everything. if she didn't keep up the image. One of her relatives said they couldn't sleep the night she went in for her 5th surgery. They sat by the phone, praying it wouldn't ring with the worst news. Michelle said the worst part was seeing her mother cry. She walked into her hospital room and saw tears pouring down her face. That's when it hit her this wasn't just about her anymore. Her pain was hurting everyone who loved her. Her choices, even if made in silence, had ripple effects. She said, "My mom is my everything. Watching her cry because of something I did to myself broke me." And from that moment, she promised herself things would change. When she finally went public with her story, the internet exploded. Fans didn't know how to react at first. Some were shocked, some were angry, but most were heartbroken. One fan tweeted, Michelle showing those scars just saved someone's life. Real talk." Another replied, "This isn't about drama, this is about survival." People began to share their own stories. Women opened up about their own surgeries, their regrets, their health scares. Some said they had been considering the same dangerous procedures, but Michelle's truth made them stop and think. She became a voice they never knew they needed. But not everyone was supportive. Some accused her of chasing attention. They said she knew the risks. They called her out for speaking too late. But Michelle didn't flinch. She knew her truth. And she knew the lives she might save by speaking up were worth more than any backlash she'd face online. What started as one woman's story soon became a spotlight on a much deeper problem. Black women in entertainment have been under pressure. For decades, the beauty standard is cruel and ever-changing. Thin waists, wide hips, full lips, flawless skin. And the industry doesn't just suggest it, it demands it. Michelle said, "Nobody warned me. They just praised the results. Until it started killing me." That quote hit home for so many. Behind every viral photo or magazine cover is often a story of pain. Industry insiders admitted it casting decisions were based on appearance, not just talent. Managers encouraged procedures. Fans rewarded the most perfect look. And when something went wrong, the silence was deafening. But Michelle broke that silence. She forced people to look not just at her scars, but at the system that made those scars possible. And people finally started listening. Even through the healing process, the pain didn't stop. Michelle had to undergo several more surgeries just to remove the toxic materials from her body. She couldn't perform. She couldn't travel. Some days, she could barely get out of bed. But with each surgery, each setback, she became more determined. She turned her pain into purpose. She began speaking at events, talking to young women about body image, about beauty, about self-worth. She started campaigns to raise awareness about illegal cosmetic procedures. She created safe spaces for survivors like her to share their experiences. Michelle said, "If I can keep one girl from going through what I went through, then it's all worth it." Her journey isn't over. She still has days when her body aches, days when she looks in the mirror and sees the trauma, but she also sees strength, resilience, a second chance, and she's not going to waste it. Still, not everyone is rooting for her. Even after everything she's endured, there are people who criticize her looks, who say she's exaggerating, who question her motives. The hate hasn't stopped it, just changed form. But Michelle refuses to be silenced again. She's focused on what matters, saving lives, telling the truth, and breaking the cycle. Her voice is louder now than it's ever been, and some believe this could spark real change. Maybe it's time for laws to be passed, for influencers to be held accountable, for the industry to take responsibility for the images it pushes. Maybe Michelle's story will be the start of a bigger movement, one that challenges the very idea of what beauty is. And maybe, just maybe, future artists won't have to suffer the same way just to feel seen.
So I found a doctor that specialized in this, and it took me about 13 surgeries later in 3 years. And I would say this year is the first year, I'm going on like a year and a half, that I haven't had to have any surgery at all, that this has, thank you. This has been a thing where I've just been wanting to become an advocate for, to speak on, because that was like the worst time of my life.
And the worst decision of my entire life. It was on the black market, but I went to a person that was well known in my music circle.
When you say black market, Define what he was and was not.
He was not a doctor. He does this in a hotel room. He told us that it was gel, some type of gel or whatever, when it was actually free-floating silicone in your body. So I didn't have any real symptoms until like 5-6 years later.
This wasn't just a story about surgery. It was a story about survival, about learning to love yourself when the world teaches you to hate what you see in the mirror, about finding strength in your lowest moment and using it to lift others. Michelle didn't just survive the operating table. She survived the judgment, the silence, and the pain. And now, she's telling her truth with no fear. So what do you think? Is it time for the industry to finally change? Have we gone too far in chasing perfection? Let's talk about it in the comments. Hit that like button if you respect Michelle's courage. Subscribe if you want more stories that tell the truth. And make sure you turn on your notifications because there are more truths coming. And when the next one drops, you'll want to be the first to hear it.
One morning my legs gave out. I couldn't walk.
Wow.
Like they just went out. I just dropped to the ground.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, and my vision was blurry. And I was like, did I have a stroke? Like, what is going on? So rushed, called the ambulance. Nothing was wrong because it doesn't show up. Like they told me I had lupus. Then the lupus panel came back, well, no. The first it said lupus and it came back, a full panel said no lupus. And so the MRI showed that the shot, you can look and see where it's black.
Wow.
So everybody with those shots, the inside of your butt, you can see it on the MRI because it's black. Because to do it right, it cost me upward of $300,000 because insurance doesn't cover it.
Wow.
So you can go spend $5,000 on it, but to get it out, it can cost you about $3,000 to get it out. So
were you insecure about your body?
I had a big ass, no.
Because I was gonna say,
I
like,
just
you
wanted bigger.
always had a shapely body.
So God has really humbled me, has really given me, because I already was curvy.
Yeah.
So I just wanted some more. So that's why I didn't have hips.
But for me, my body has been such a big thing, and I really wasn't going to hide it, you know, and I didn't with work. My work fell off last year, everything. It really affected.
Because of your health.
Yeah, it really affected my livelihood. So now I'm just feeling like I'm just getting back to like being me. I'm feeling, yeah, and that's why I've been saying, like, I'm feeling better. We still have rough days since we're on tour, you know, just trying to keep me healthy because I still have a lot
Very personal for me. I've always been very open about everything in my career, from the good, the bad. There's not an in-between when it comes to me. And when I started to go through this, I never once thought to hide it or to keep it from the people that loved me and supported me. I wanted them not to make the same mistake as me because they were looking at me and looking up to me so much, whether it's relationship advice, whether it's any type of advice. So I wanted to tell the truth about what people won't say.